Congressman, welcome back. First, your reaction to this violence, which is not just in Minneapolis. It's spread to various cities across the country. We saw it in Los Angeles last 2 nights ago, and then there was some unrest in New York and Phoenix. Your reaction?
Yeah, Brian, first of all, it was just disturbing watching the video of what happened to George Floyd. We all mourn his loss, and justice needs to be served there. But just going out and destroying cities is not an answer to that. Let's push for justice to be served. And you see local officials recognizing that this has to be addressed, what happened to George Floyd, and let's not tarnish his memory with that kind of reaction.
So the president tweets out his unhappiness with how this is being handled by the mayor, says, I'm going to call in the National Guard. Twitter doesn't like what he said, so they put some disclaimers on there. This hours after he put together an executive order that would rein them in and make them accountable, almost like a publisher instead of a host. What's your reaction to them seem to be targeting the president?
Well, it's concerning that Twitter seems to be picking sides now politically, and it seems like they're carrying out a vendetta against the president. That's not supposed to be their role. They present themselves as a public square. This isn't, just a private company. This is a company that says they are a private square, and yet they're only censoring selectively, it seems like, the thoughts of conservatives and high-profile conservatives, including the president. Twitter really needs to reevaluate what they're trying to do, because they're going to literally force the creation of an alternative that's not going to be censoring and selectively censoring at worst.
I find this somewhat intriguing because I know Democrats have complained, too, more about Facebook than Twitter, about the way it's handled, because the administration, obviously the campaign was much better at it. So I'm curious to see if they're going to get on board with anything. But meanwhile, let's pivot. Yesterday, Speaker Pelosi decides to cancel a planned vote on FISA because the president made it clear he was going to veto it. Are you against FISA, or you just want it reformed after the 17 violations pointed out by Michael Horowitz?
Well, clearly, FISA needs to be reformed because it's well known how it was abused, and it was abused by people within the Justice Department, the FBI, to try to take down a candidate for president of the United States and Donald Trump. And so there has to be accountability. But look, FISA has been used successfully in the past to track terrorists abroad. It's why the law was created, but it was a very narrow scope, and the way it was used was supposed to be in a way that only applied to terrorists or Americans who were abroad fighting with terrorists, not to spy on a candidate for president or people that were working around him. And so the FISA court has to fix their problems internally. The bill was trying to do some reforms, didn't go far enough, clearly. But at the same time, there was more work that needed to be done. And then you throw in the fact that there still has been no accountability, Brian. There has to be accountability for those people that abused the FISA court, that did other things illegally within the FBI. Some of those people need to go to jail. And I think once that happens, you'll see an ability to come back together and get this program back on track in a right way with proper guardrails and reforms. But it wasn't ready for prime time. I'm glad they pulled it. We had the votes to kill it, and we worked hard to make sure that the bill would have died if it came to the floor.
Congressman, only 30 seconds left, but real quick. A lot of people say going after the origins of the Russia probe, the Mueller probe, is a distraction in this time when you have a pandemic. What do you say to those critics who say we don't need this distraction now?
Well, it might be a distraction to the people who are about to get caught with their hand in the cookie jar. I mean, these are people who literally used the FBI. There were FBI agents, not the by and large all of them, but FBI agents who used their position to try to take down a candidate for president of the United States. We all ought to be concerned about it. There needs to be accountability, and those people need to go to jail who abused their power and broke the law.
It looks like they're going to be lining up a whole bunch of familiar names from Brennan to Comey to Yates as early as next week, led by, on the Senate side, with Senator Ron Johnson. So we'll see what happens. Minority Whip Steve Scalise, thanks so much.
Brian, great to be with you. Thanks.